continue our media availabilities with Chris Buescher, driver of the number 17 Ford for RFK Racing. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have one, please raise your hand and we will get a mic over to you. Who'd like to start? We'll go to Cameron and then Zach.
I don't even have to talk first. That's great. Just go right to it.
Cameron Richardson, NASCAR.com. If, like Talladega, if there's a group of cars that kind of pit early, at like the Toyotas did at Talladega, is there a chance to counteract that anyway, or are you just all kind of banking on, hey, it's likely a yellow will come out and kind of just put everybody back together?
You can we can counter it, yeah. It's more on our radar now. Obviously, fuel savings has become very prominent at these super speedways in the last 4 or 6 races, something like that, and it was that what if, and a group took it and ran with that, and proved that there's a possibility, and everyone took note. So yeah, it's definitely something that if it's going on, if you see it happening, then we definitely have the opportunity to cover it this go around and not have to try and hope for anything bad to happen. We'll be more prepared for that this go.
We'll go to Zach.
Zach Cerniello, NASCAR.com. With the success that you and Brad have had on these tracks in the next-gen era, does that give you any more confidence in your guys' ability to execute, given how unpredictable these races can be?
Yeah, it certainly helps. We know we're going to be fast when we get on track here in a short bit. We know we'll have Fords that'll race really well, that push really well, things that we've excelled at that it's taken some others longer to figure out, and a lot of the field is starting to catch up in some of those areas. So, we are aware, but certainly we know we have a lot of really good things going for us when it comes to this style of racing, and it makes them a lot more enjoyable when you're fast and when you don't feel like you're white-knuckled hanging on at every moment. So with that, we are very much looking forward to getting going into the race tomorrow. Obviously had a lot of discussions on how our teamwork has benefited us in the last couple of years. I think we can pick out moments in time from every race where we could have done better, whether that ends in a 1-2 finish or whether that ends with a big separation of cars. There's always moments in a race that you feel like we can be better teammates, be more on the same page, and try and cover more strategies, I guess, and be prepared for anything that may happen during a race. So, all that said, there's a level of unpredictability, or it's probably predicted that it's going to happen. It's just when, right? So when we come to these races, we know that, and at the end of the day, you can only control what we can in our very small circle, and the rest of it will just it'll go as it may. So unfortunately, that's part of the game at these places. Small lapses in judgment lead to rather catastrophic consequences. So, we're certainly ready for it, but we'll be eyes out front, paying attention, and trying to be smart and work together really well so that we can find ourselves in a shot to go 1-2 again.
Dustin, was your hand up? Yep. We'll go to Dustin, then Ben, then over to Anthony.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chris, as the only Ford in a points position that hasn't secured a spot at this point, is there an expectation that you should be getting help if you need it, not just from your teammate, but from other Fords to get another Ford in the playoffs?
It's I don't know if it's an expectation. It's more of an ask if given opportunity to help out a manufacturer car versus a competitor. I think the ask would be there to try and have that scenario in your mind from some of our teammates across the board on the Ford camp. So, but no, I certainly don't think you can expect it from others. It's we're all competitors. We obviously have a very singular goal in mind, all of us for the same thing, and you're not going to get there if you're helping out those that you're going to have to compete with at the end of the day. But yeah, I think it's just again, it's kind of just a small favor if possible. Just try and pay attention to who's around. It's something that I feel like we've done in the past. If you had the opportunity to help a fellow forward move forward in a line, or or be in a better spot to push, then you would take that. But ultimately, I certainly know everybody's out here trying to figure out how to win this thing alone.
As somebody who won this race last year, and then obviously won going in, so you didn't have to worry about this, how easy was it to help anybody that needed help? And at what point, what was it like to basically wave your hand and say, I can't help you, or, essentially give them the, shove off and, you're on your own now the rest of the way?
The hard part, I won't say the hard part. The part for me is the fact that our two RFK Fords are very good, and if we're both in the race and can find each other, we're gonna work together first, right? And try and better both of our positions. And with that, the person we can count on the most is names on my shirt and the side of the car, and that's our biggest ally out there on any given weekend. But certainly this race, right? And we knew that. We know that all these super speedways, and that's what worked so well for us last time. So it's a matter of doing what we can to help each other, but obviously it's as within our organization's walls, it's very important to try and get a win for the 17 group and go ahead and lock this thing in to where we can go to Darlington and not have any of this thoughts in the back of our minds. So when we come to Daytona, it's tricky because we've gone about this different ways in the past. And ultimately, I think we just got to go out here and race, try and be smart within our group, make decisions, try and better both of us, and go race it and let it fall where it will. It's Daytona, right? We know things can happen, but we'll go race hard, be smart at times, but we'll go see what happens, see how we can find ourselves in victory lane again.
We'll come down here to Ben, and then we'll go to Anthony, and then Jordan and Chris.
Chris, Ben White with Fayetteville Observer, USA Today. Okay, obviously you want to win this race, okay, and it's very unpredictable. Let's say that for whatever reason you don't win this one, but you go to Darlington, okay. You're racing the competition, but you're also racing the track. So both of those factors are in your mind going into Darlington. How much of that race are you racing the track, and how much of that are you racing the other competitors, or is that twofold or all together? If you understand my question.
Yeah, so Darlington, you're always racing the track there, right? And it's I don't want to be in the position leaving here where we have to have too many of those internal thoughts, but it's just it's a tricky place, right? I love that racetrack. I love how difficult it is and what it makes you think of as a driver. For us, it's you will pay attention. If that's the scenario we're in, we will pay attention to where others are at, but you got to race that racetrack first. Run our own race. Make sure we don't make mistakes. You're right at the edge at any given point there, and while the cars have proven quite robust, when you are right there up against the fence, they're certainly not indestructible. So we got to have our mindset right going in, but it's about how we've gone about the last couple of weeks is go to figure out how to win the race, and for whatever reason, many different reasons, we haven't found ourselves in a chance to really compete for the win in the closing stages of these things, and with that, it's kind of turn your attention to those that we are racing on the other side of it, and knowing what their situation is, and kind of helping decide how we need to approach the ends of these things. So it's you want to be ultimately fighting for the win first, and then worry about the rest of it.
We'll go to Anthony, then to Jordan, and then over here to Chris.
Anthony Damcott, FrenchRich.com. Chris, have you and Brad talked about the strategy, strategy, if you want to call it, going into this race to repeat last year, especially now because Brad has a win this year and he could be in a position to help you more than potentially trying to steal the win for himself. Have you guys watched the race back from last year to see how you could maybe repeat the 1-2 finish with you in front like last year?
Yeah, we always study a lot for these races, and like we were saying, the teamwork side of things, we have focused on a lot, and we have seen it work for us. We've seen it work for other organizations that do it well, and we know it's a big part of it. So it's certainly a big strategy race. Yes, there's some amount of unpredictability in it, and yes, it's it puts up this little asterisk there, but it is still a big strategy race. There's a lot going through your mind as a driver. There's a lot going through our team's minds as we go through this. A lot of scenarios that we play out. We go back. We watch the old races, even the ones that went right, because there's always stuff to do better, differently. Try and dissect it throughout the week leading up to these things. And yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the end, I fully expected to be side by side with Brad last year at the end of this thing, and his help kind of all just fanned out behind him in the end, and ultimately just stalled out all of us, and we kind of just all got stuck to the finish. So I don't think I ever expect him just to simply get in line and push. I think the hope is that in a position where we come down to the end, we're 1-2, and we can have a shot at this thing together. And not take that chance of losing it, right? If you're running 1-2, make it exciting. Go for the win. I think that's it's understandable as competitors, but certainly don't finish second and third doing something dumb, right? So it's a general mindset right now. I can't speak for where Brad's head's at exactly, but obviously with having a win and being locked in. This race last year, he was locked in mathematically, so it was an easier race for us as a group to go through it and not have that on our minds, with it being more ideally not the last one leading in the playoffs. So I do like this, but with that, we do we do have one more race after this that we need to be aware of, right? So you need to be in the hunt to win this thing, and if you come close and put up a bunch of points on the board, then it will make next week a lot easier.
We'll go to Jordan, and then we'll wrap over here with Chris.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. When you get airborne in a car, what is it like? What's going through your mind? Is it going as quick as it looks from the outside, or inside is it just slow motion?
No, I hate Talladega Nights. I hate that movie. But I'll start with that. But it is strange the amount of time you have to think and the amount of silence that is in the race car when it goes airborne. And I haven't asked Corey about this. I watched it happen right out my A-post window last week, and it started out as a spin, and the first thought in my mind was, that's a bad angle. He's going to hit a lot. And then before I got that thought out of my head, it was upside down and flying through the air, and sitting there thinking, man, I know that feeling, and it's not a good one. Glad he's okay. Glad him and Kyle Seeger are okay. But it is not a pleasant feeling, and it's something that most racetracks, and Michigan is a little bit of an exception. Most racetracks, you don't realize how fast you're going, how dangerous this really is, until something goes wrong and you're sideways or backwards or upside down. Michigan is the exception to that. You know how fast you're going there forwards. I can't imagine what it feels like backwards. And I know it's not good. So, it's a very strange feeling. I'm afraid of flying in general. I'm a little more so afraid of flying in a race car. So, it's not something I have on my bucket list. Unfortunately, I got 2 under my belt, so I'm like quarter away to my pilot's license at this point. That's what I figure. So maybe that'll overcome my fear. But I want to do the rest of it in a real airplane, not in race cars.
So when you're done flipping, your car stops. And I know Charlotte was a little bit different because you're upside down there. But would you just want to get out of the car as quick as possible? Do you take a second to kind of gather yourself? Kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, my first one at Talladega landed right side up, and it's always the last couple of impacts to me that that hurt the most. It's all of the energy is basically landing on flat ground. At that point in Talladega, suspension was tore off the car. It was, just chassis to earth. That one I wanted out quicker. I remember the window net was caught because of the A-post. The sheet metal of the old cars was actually wrapped around the buckle, so +1 for the roof hatch. And then our Charlotte one, I just wanted out of that stupid car at that point. I was so mad. Just a bad situation, and sitting there upside down for that long. And, I first one to have to be turned back over in the new car. And unfortunately, I was kind of just the learning curve for everybody. So it was not fun. It's not that it was particularly painful during the accident, but you just start getting a little bit of a temper as you're sitting there upside down, and if you undo the belt sitting upside down, it's going to hurt worse, just unstrapping and hitting stuff on the way down. So I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes into that one, I just decided I'll just let my arms dangle, kind of tuck down and wait for whatever's going to happen. But that one was different, landing on top and having way too much time to think about things.
We'll go ahead and take one final question here from Chris.
Hey, Chris. Chris Gollin. Excuse me. Chris Gollin with News Daytona Beach. So this past week, Kevin Harvick on his podcast was talking about some, a comment you made about how you prioritize winning versus points racing, and he called he described you saying you're more focused on winning. He called it a bunch of SHIT. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss in here. He called it BS, and he called it the most nonsense answer he's ever heard in his life. I'm just curious, how would you respond to his characterization of the interview you gave that way?
No, I can assure him it's not BS. It is not something that we've put any focus on throughout my career, especially not until it's absolutely necessary. So, at this point, there are thoughts of what our point situation is, and discussed it a little bit today and last week, and the last couple of weeks, like I said, haven't gone our way. So we don't start the race thinking about points and how do we just put points up and play conservative. I promise that's not what's going on here. But certainly we've had some rough goes, a couple of races, and we haven't been in a spot to compete for a win at the end. And yes, at that point, it's teams made me aware of struggles of some of the other cars we're racing on that cut line. And it's just information. It's not telling me to do anything different. It's just so you know, hey, we've had 2 cars that were racing, had failures or have wrecked out. That's just information for me to say, do I really want to go 4 wide in turn 1 at Pocono, or is 3 wide maybe my number? It's all it is. And at that point, you think about it. If you're not, if you don't truly believe you're going to have a shot to win the thing, then you're not going to go do something crazy and lose 30 points on the day. So, I don't. I'll defend that one pretty adamantly. That I can assure them it's not BS, and we're not coming here to points race. We're coming here to win races.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
All right, Chris, thanks for your time today. Good luck this weekend.
You got it. Appreciate y'all. Why is it so dark on TV? It was bright when I came in here. What happened? It's not?
No.
Is it under red?
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, driver.